we've got Dan, we've got Julie, we've got me. Do you want to just explain quickly, like, your experience with ultra running, like, running through the evening, coaching, that kind of stuff? Julie, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Julie.
Julie.
I started running like 20 some years ago for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and I was not a runner. So everything I've learned over the last 25-ish years has been through a lot of trial and error. But I just kept going and building because this community will do that to you, you know.
Yeah,
A 5K is a gateway drug to 100 miles.
yeah. And you've done 200 milers
I
now?
have two 100 milers in my belt. One is a road 100 miler, which was point to point, and I did that completely self-supported. And the other was Woodstock trail loop, and that I failed my attempt once at that, and then I accomplished it and I guess, yeah, you talk about failing and it's not a failure. There's so much you learn on a oh wow, I hit my limit. So including what to wear. Like, okay, how do I? Because that first year that I the first year that I did not hit my goal, freezing in the middle of the night when I like stopped at an aid station was definitely a key part of like, oh, how do I work through that next time?
Yeah. And you did Blackbeards for the first one, so very different conditions.
Yeah.
And
that one, it was cool at night. It was windy during the day. But it was it was a March race. So I definitely had like a big swing in temperatures. So it was laying out my drop bags for that was very, very meticulous, like very calculated.
Yeah. And then Dan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I'm Dan. I also have some experience with Woodstock. I did the 100K last year and learned very quickly. That was like my first race through the night and learned very, very quickly what it is to run in 40-degree temperatures and a little bit of rain and everything you have to do, especially coming off of running through the day. So that was a great learning experience, and I tried to rally that into a 100-mile attempt at Woodstock this year. That didn't go so great. It failed that as well. But again, learned a lot, great group of people, and realized, like Julie said, it's a stepping stone in the process, and take it and use it as fuel and learning environment for the next one. So looking forward to sharing some of the things that I picked up from Julie and Megan and other people over the last several years. I've gotten into ultras. So excited to share some of it.
Yeah. And I think it's important to point out that Dan is also a coach. He's a certified coach, and that in some way, so am I. And I also think that sometimes you learn a lot more through failure than through,
absolutely,
than through like a perfect race. So I guess, we've got Wolverine coming up with Trivium, and I'll share the historical weather through the race website, but essentially we may be running through a 5:30 a.m. start that has anywhere from 50-degree temps to 60, could be 40. We're going to hit something potentially as low as 30 degrees overnight, and then we could end up in 70 degrees the next day. We could have rain, we could have snow. And so I think it's important to talk about how you have to navigate that, especially over the evening. One thing that occurred to me to point out to Michiganders and other Midwesterners is that we think we are used to running in 40-degree temperatures, and then we go outside in October in 40 degrees, and we're very surprised by how cold it is. And so even if you are used to running in that, I don't think any of us are quite acclimated for that just yet, and nor will we be by October 11th and 12th. So I guess, with those things, did y'all have any initial thoughts about weather, any initial thoughts about like just how your mindset about weather changes how you feel throughout the race, not getting angry about it, not getting feeling defeated by it, any initial thoughts about that?
Yeah, my first thought was when I looked at the historical temperatures around like early to mid October from last year and the year before, and I saw that last year on October 11th, the date of the race this year, the high was 74 and the low overnight got down to 35. So in my head, is if I were running that, I'm thinking I'm bringing, maybe an ice bandana, sleeves to stuff ice in during the middle of the day. And then I'm also probably bringing heat, hand warmers and all the warm clothes and hats and gloves and all that sort of thing. So also be the shock to your body too. After you're running, starting in the morning, you're maybe pushing the pace a little bit, higher effort, especially for Wolverine. I do know there's a decent climb at the beginning of the race. Body temperature gets up, and then it's going to be a sudden shift, very rapid shift once that sun goes down. Right around, if you're on a 24-hour pace, probably somewhere around mile 55. If you're on a 30-hour pace, somewhere around mile 45. So it's going to be getting deep into the race when that sun goes down, when we start getting tired. And that's when you need to be ready to start switching into some layers, some warmer clothes, and get some of the wet, sweaty clothes off of you if you have some.
Yeah, and Julie, you've done the looped course where you can change your clothes. You've done the self-supported with drop bags. What's going through your head right now?
The big thing is for how many drop bags do you get for Wolverine? Do you know?
So I want to say it's for the 100-mile, it's like 4 or 5, but we definitely have it laid out on the aid station chart.
So similar to Blackbeard.
Yeah.
Where they're across it. So one of the things that I think helped me is that I made a drop bag and I put the times on there. Okay, it's going to be maybe 2 p.m. when I get to approximately.
Yeah.
If nothing goes wrong. What's the temperature going to be like at 2 p.m. and make sure that drop bag has stuff. And if it's going to be one of those times where you're like, oh, it's not going to be that bad, or either one direction, prepare for all the temperatures. And
yeah.
And you don't have to take everything out of your drop bag. You can just put your dry whatever's on and then move on. But always, for sure have a buff in there. For sure have gloves in there. For sure have a pair of dry drawers. Just because I can tell you on Blackbeard, there was a point in the middle of the night that I was cold but sweaty, and I just did a complete change at the aid station, and it was life changing, at mile 80 to be like where I thought I wanted to quit. I thought I wanted to die. And then I put on fresh clothes and suddenly I was like, oh, I can do this,
Right.
There's something about just like, getting clean, getting dry, and being like, okay, I'm a whole new me and I can move from here.
Yeah. And that's a good reminder that these drop bags are gigantic. So you can put your full winter set of, accessories and apparel in there and some summer stuff. And I think that the other thing to keep in mind is that a lot of people also have crew, and so their crew can have pretty much anything in the car for them. The aid stations are gonna have changing areas so that you can fully change if you feel like you need to. I'm trying to think I guess let's talk apparel, let's talk gear. Like for me, I run extremely hot, and so I will never have a hat on, I'll never have gloves on. I definitely will end up with a jacket and changing out a base layer. Girls, I would probably want to change out my bra. Yep, exactly,
100%.
right? Yeah, there's nothing worse than a wet bra when it's like 30 degrees at night, right?
It's like wearing an ice pack and you're already cold. Yeah.
Just go.
And even as if I were your coach, I would still say pack the gloves and pack the headband. Just please have it there, because you don't know if this is the day or this is the mile where your body can't catch up. Like Dan and I were running, and we're at mile like 70 or 60, and we'd slow down just enough to grab food at an aid station, and he would start shivering. And I was like, just
2 minutes. We had to get out of an aid station in like 90 seconds. Otherwise, it was just too cold. I think once you went to use the restroom or something, I just had to keep walking just to keep moving.
And I was like, oh no, I lost Dan.
I wasn't even sweating that much, but it just got cold. As soon as you slow down, your body is going to get cold. cold.
Yeah.
And at mile 50, 60, 70, 80, your body's depleted. And this, even if you're not 100% up on fueling, your body's working hard to stay warm.
Yeah.
So you're going to need a little bit extra nutrition, but definitely what they're saying, bring the extra layer.
Yeah. And these are the conversations people need to hear, right? Because it's very easy to tell yourself when you're fresh, you feel great with X, but when you are exhausted and you slow down and it's 40 degrees out and it's dark
Yeah.
and you're depleted,
Mm-hmm.
it's very different.
And even so, along with your wardrobe options, like make sure you have extra socks in there, even if you don't think you're going to need them, make sure you have whatever. Also fuel. I remember once putting salt tabs in one of my drop bags because I was like, okay, by this station I'm going to need them. And I was so delirious that I didn't take them. So like one of those things I want you guys or anybody to remember is if you put something in your drop bag that you're like, I know I'm going to need this later, remind yourself to like, you had good advice once when your mind was clear.
Yeah. No, that's key, because even when a like a crew person will say, or like your coach will say something to you, it's a lot harder to believe it when you're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
we forced a jacket on Dan.
Oh, did you?
No,
Thank you.
I never got that. I never actually, I don't know if I ever put the jacket on. I took
No.
it out with me. Yes.
Yeah.
But
It
we
was
were
in my pack. I took it out.
right. We were at the station and you're like, no, I don't need it. And I had been
Yeah.
sitting there not running. So I was chilly and I was like, you know what?
Mhm.
We're just going to put it in there anyways.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're right. We didn't need it. And I ended up taking mine off. But
To what you're saying, Julie, as cold as I got slowing down at an aid station, like what if I had potentially rolled an ankle or something and had to stop in the middle of the trail somewhere? I would have absolutely wanted a jacket there.
Yeah.
And on that note, anything that you put in your pack, even if it's not raining, assume it's going to rain at some point, assume it's going to get sweaty at some point, put these clothes in a Ziploc bag. Even if it's in a drop bag, it could get left out on the rain, might get set in a puddle. You don't have control over it. And if you need a dry coat or a dry shirt, you're going to need a dry shirt. Put it in a Ziploc bag, make sure it doesn't get wet, because that could really go bad quickly.
Oh my gosh. Like as Dan's crew chief during his last 100-miler, there is nothing better that you can do for your crew than to put all of your clothes in Ziploc baggies and label them with a Sharpie, so that when you are trying to just grab them, whatever you think they need, and send them out with it, it is easy and fast. That was brilliant on your part.
The best investment you can make are large Ziploc baggies and Sharpies.
And painter's tape.
Yes.
Oh,
And painter's tape. Yeah, right.
Painter's tape on the flasks.
Yes.
Smart.
Yes, very easy for me to, not cold weather related, but very easy for me to start labeling flasks with what type of drink mix was in them, so that it was easier to send him out with what he wanted. Yeah, but I also just want to touch on something very quickly. Wet clothes are cold clothes, so get out of the wet clothes. Like, I mean, if it's still cold and you are still running through cold temperatures. The other thing that we kind of talked about pertaining to like aid stations was that if it actually gets down to 30, 30, even 40 degrees at night, your gels, your chews, your snacks are going to potentially freeze if you keep them in an outer pocket. I just keep mine in an internal pocket in my shirt or my pants. Any other thoughts on that? It's pretty self-explanatory.
No, I mean, for sure. I remember there was one point, Julie, I don't know if I was with you or somebody else, but I went to eat a handful of M&Ms and I had a hard time chewing them because they were half frozen.
Yes!
And again, it was never it never got cooler than maybe 45 degrees, but it was a noticeable change trying to chew a little bit extra when you're tired. So just keep an eye on that. If you're going to eat something, and that's one of my things is I sometimes have trouble chewing later on in races. So keeping it close to your chest, even if once I've had to stick a gel under an armpit before just to keep it warming up real quick. Yeah, absolutely helps.
Armpit gels.
Yep. That sounds
Julie's
great.
like, no.
Yeah, gels are as good as they are. Yeah.
Listen.
Oh,
You do whatever it takes to get as far as you can go.
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, and
I did have, I'm sorry, one more thing on staying dry, just one more tip. If you do have drop bags throughout the course, or if you have a crew shuttling you around or following you around, keep extra towels around. So if you get to a drop bag, if you're having to switch a shirt or switch your hat on, you can dry yourself off so that you're not putting a dry shirt on or a hat on that immediately then gets wet. So little things like that to help out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And actually along that lines, I would sometimes throw a water bottle in there as like, so if I'm getting really dirty and I'm getting like stuff in my socks and my shoes and I need to get the grit off, a little bottle of water and your towel will be like a quick bath. I mean, you can do baby wipes too, but I feel like water, whatever fits best first, and then second, like whichever gets you cleanest so that you can lube up and get back out there.
That's right. But towels also double as blankets. You know, and I will point out all of the aid stations, especially overnight, will have blankets. Each one will have a cot. So if you need to lay down for an hour to get through that like overnight hump, you know, this race has a 33-hour time limit for the 100-miler, and it's like 28 hours for the 100K. So if you need to take an hour nap, it is not going to no one's going to let you sleep through the rest of the race. You know, and then the aid stations all have hot hands, and then the aid station chart will show the details. But after, oh my gosh, at any point when we think it's going to start getting dark or cold, hot food, broth, coffee, like all of them have hot stuff because that will warm you from the inside out. Yeah. Any other thoughts on like aid stations, taking stuff from aid stations, that kind of thing?
Always take something. Like, even if you don't feel good, like just grab a handful of peanut butter pretzels or M&Ms, or just, you might end up spitting them out or whatever, but and it doesn't have to be a ton. It doesn't have to be a ton, but just keep calories in your body. Yeah.
Can't have too many snacks in these long races.
Yeah. Well, and I also feel like the person who gives you the bacon or the peanut butter pretzels is your new best friend for life, and at least gives you some amount of
Dan fell in love with the bacon lady, that is for sure.
Bacon pick me up. Oh yeah, that was for sure. My best friend.
It's wild too what your body needs, you know.
I think at Blackbeard around mile 50, it was a grilled cheese, but out in the Outer Banks, the like wind was blowing. It was grilled cheese and had sand in it, but it was still the best grilled cheese I'd ever had in my whole life. It was just
and grilled cheese is on the aid station list. So it looks like starting around mile 45 or so, you can start to see some grilled cheese out there.
Yes. Eat real food if you can, because tongue and your teeth, they'll start getting fuzzy with all the sugar and stuff. So if you can.
Well, and real food makes you feel human.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so then I guess let's be a little scientific for a second. So when it's colder, your sweat rate is lower. You're not going to need the same amount of fluids and electrolytes that you needed at the beginning, but you can't stop drinking entirely. You know, there's issues that happen on both sides of it. Do you want to tell any stories?
Well,
it's fresh in my head. I think it's easy to tell yourself that either you're eating enough or that you're staying on top of it. So go into it with a system in place, whether it's, if you just tell yourself you're going to drink to thirst, that can be really hard to read your thirst cues when you're 60, 80 miles into a race. So whether it's, I'm going to take a sip every mile or every 5 or 10 minutes or whatever it is, I'm going to eat every 30 minutes. You have to stick to that as long as you can, or as much as you can, because if you just try to wing it and say, I'm going to feel it out, that's gonna be really, really hard.
Yeah. Don't feel it. You cannot trust yourself after a certain amount. So as a pacer, I would set my timer, for every hour or every half hour, depending on who I was pacing and what their plan was. And just be like, hey, I'm checking in. Have you had a sip lately? I don't know if I did that with you, if we're quite to that point yet. Dan.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, it was a great reminder, and I needed it because it's even running with somebody who is so experienced and has such a great resume to tell you, make sure you keep eating.
Yeah,
And you do. It absolutely helps. Yeah. I think
Well,
we got maybe caught up into a pack with the 3, 4, 5 people, and you were just telling everybody, all right, it's an hour. Everyone have a snack. Everyone have a snack.
yeah.
Everybody get your calories. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think some numbers are usually helpful to people. I think it's easy to say drink more, drink less, but how much, right? And so I think, in the summer, if it's 70, or let's say this, if it's 74 degrees outside in the middle of the day during Wolverine, I might be drinking, 24 ounces with, I don't know, 900 milligrams of sodium. And then it might get cool out at, 3 in the morning, and I might be drinking 16 ounces and, probably still a lot of sodium but like, Dan, what does that look like for you in terms of, like you might go from this to that?
Yeah, so I was going in the day, I have a pretty high sweat rate and I go through a lot of fluid. So I was probably drinking anywhere between 30 and 35 ounces per hour in the day. But then when it got dark, it was that probably got cut maybe 2/3 of it, maybe 20, 25 ounces an hour. But so, and that's at a pretty reasonably low effort too. So keep that in mind too. Obviously the harder you're working, the more you're going to need. But I would still say you're probably going to need more at night than you think. But even to try to guess right now what you think you might need, you won't know until you just go do it. So between now, there's still another month. Plenty of time to go get some night runs in as it's cooling down, get some experience running in 35, 40, 45 degree weather, and figure it out. Go see what you need, see how you feel, experiment with less fluid, experiment with a little bit more fluid. And it's just going to take those repetitions to figure out what you actually need, because everybody is different.
Yeah, very much so.
I mean, I'm in a second on that. Like, highly recommend you get out and get a midnight run in, even if it's like 10 miles or whatever, but something where you're just practicing being tired, you're being in the dark, and also with your nutrition.
Yeah. And I was talking to one of our, Trivium's owner, Rich, earlier today, and we were talking about how it's not just running in the dark, it's running in isolation in the dark by yourself when you don't hear anyone else around you, and your brain is just going to places. And if you're
and if you're not familiar or not used to running in northern Michigan single track trails a lot, single track trails at night in northern Michigan feel a lot different than running in the streets during the day. It's a completely different vibe, experience. You can feel it. You feel that you're isolated. Yeah. So get used to that. So it's not a foreign thing. It's not another stimulus that you're going to have to deal with come race day.
Yeah. I mean, and I will say, and I am curious to hear Julie's thoughts on this. I'm pretty introverted, but like, I like to have people sort of around me. And if I get on a trail that is entirely isolated, like 0 people ever the entire 4 hours I'm out there, I start to feel a little,
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And when at Woodstock, when I'd be solo, I mean, looking behind me constantly. And Dan actually asked me, he's like, did you hallucinate? I'm like, I don't know if I was hallucinating, but definitely the gremlins in my head were like, oh my gosh, what was that? It was more shadows dancing, and my brain just, thinking the worst. And similar in Blackbeard, that's just like a strip of land between 2 bodies of water, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's definitely a pirate going to come out of the sea, and I'm gonna die here. And I don't know, your head goes in those really silly, weird places. And I remember reading a book once that talked about, like, when those kind of voices happen, you need to learn how to talk to yourself, not listen to yourself. Coach yourself like you'd be coaching somebody else. You know what? You're fine. You're going the right direction. You're so strong. You've trained for this. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
So.
And that sort of thing isn't just stressful, it's also exhausting. It's a mental stimulus that drains resources away from what you're otherwise trying to do. So the less other stimuli you can get rid of, the better you'll be.
And figure out what it is that gets you through it. Do you pair up with someone before the race, or before you before it
Mhm.
gets too dark. You know, for me, I like to put on a podcast when it gets that late, when I am just listening to my friends in my ear. You know, like everyone's got a different way. And of course, if you do that, make sure you can still hear people around you. But everyone's got a different, but you don't know what it is until you get into it. And God forbid you figure that out at 3 a.m. in the middle of the race.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not generally a music listener for running, but on my 100 milers, I did create a 100 mile playlist, and I would put it out there on social media. I'm like, hey, I'm about to do this. You know, do you guys any?
Oh,
Oh,
we lost Julie. Uh-oh. Oh, no,
she'll be
you're not
back.
present anymore. Yeah. Oh, she'll be back. Yeah.
She'll be-
Yeah. I do the same thing. I love having people add songs to my playlist, because then when I hear them, I think of that person.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's another way to get your mind off a tough spot too.
Yeah.
Yeah, when somebody else has the music.
Yeah, or you just have Julie singing for you, you know, for
Or in my case, you just have Julie singing whatever she's singing. Yeah, exactly.
4 hours.
Which is great. Fantastic.
Which is
Yeah.
also super fun. You know, I mean,
It
pacer
was.
tip, make sure you understand your runner's personality before you
Mhm.
what was I? Oh, so you know, we weren't going to talk too much longer, but I think the other thing that was really important was pointing out that it kind of feels like when you hit that 4 o'clock a.m. hour, it all seems to feel like the hardest part of the race, even if you have, you know, even if you know you've got like 40 miles coming after that, that 4 a.m. hour just feels really tough, because you've just gone through the whole night and the sun's not up yet.
Mhm.
And it's still cold, and like the 4 o'clock feels like the coldest part of the day. Like, I don't know if you put on another jacket, or, you know, like something to keep you warm, because like the dew is starting to form. Do you have any thoughts on how that 4 a.m. hour feels like mentally? Because it's very fresh for you.
Yeah, I do. I know exactly how that feels. It can get pretty dark, you know, but
Yeah.
you have to know what works for you.
Yeah.
So like Julie and Megan are saying, hey, welcome back, Julie.
Hi, can you see me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. Sorry.
No, find one or two things that just make you happy, whether it's a playlist that you're a podcast that you've been waiting to listen to for a while, or a certain snack that you know is like your go-to thing. Have something in your back pocket that can kind of pull you out of a dark spot. Have a conversation with somebody, call somebody on the phone, even if it is at 4 a.m. Let them know ahead of time, hey, listen, you might get a phone call at 4 a.m. and I might need you to pick me up a little bit and sing me some show tunes. Whatever it is, have some options ready to go.
Yeah, Julie, we're talking about that 4 a.m., you know, 4:30 pre-dawn kind of feels like the roughest part of the race, and what your tips and tricks are for getting through, because it seems like once the sun comes up, everything feels a little easier.
A little better, yes. I totally agree, and I think where I got dropped off was I had a 100-mile playlist, and it was just friends that suggested songs that I put on that list.
Yeah.
I also created a list of like mile by mile of 100 different people, or 100 different reasons why I was doing this.
Aww.
You know, and so it would be running groups, it'd be family members, it would be you know, challenges that have been overcome. It would be, you know, people that were, you know, that in my life that were battling cancer or other hardships, and I would put that on that list. So when the night got hard, or you know, things got rough, I would look at it and be like, okay, yeah, this is rough, but I can do this a little bit more because so and so is doing this, or because so and so's in my life and has carried me through things before. So
yeah. And I think the thing that's tricky is remembering to go to that thing, because if you have a crew with you, it's easy for them to remind you, okay, go put your playlist on, or go call your wife, or whatever it is, right? But like, if you're by yourself, what do you do?
Yeah. have that in your bag, have that in your pocket, like have it close by. Get those temporary tattoos and tattoo something on your arm. That's like a mantra, you know.
Yeah.
One of the groups that I've run and raised money with is called Mission is Possible. And I just had Mission is Possible on my arm. So when, stuff got tough, I'd be like, oh, that's right. That's right. There, I have a crew. I have people. I have reasons why I decided to do something so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's,
And I would just add to that, don't forget about caffeine. If it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're getting around to the time where you normally have a cup of coffee or cup of tea or caffeine in the morning, having a little bit of caffeine could start your body to get back into rhythm and get a little bit of boost running into, when the sun starts coming up.
It's such a good
100%.
point, because it is another day. You've just
It's another day.
You just started another day.
Yeah.
Oh
I mean, I'm not a big pop drinker or caffeine. I'll have my coffee, but on race day, I am all about Coca-Cola, Red Bull.
Coffee.
Salt tablets with caffeine.
As coaches, we do need to say you need to practice that before race day.
Yes.
Practice caffeine. Know how you feel before you get to a race, and use it in some of these night runs to do that.
Yeah.
100%.
Also, I will point out, you could absolutely schedule someone that you love to call you, if I was doing this, I would absolutely have Jason call me at 4:30 a.m. Just schedule it. Now, I will say that may not necessarily be something you should rely on during this race. Cell service is not going to be fantastic, which, but if you are running it by yourself, write something on your arm in Sharpie, set an alarm on your phone, whatever it is, because it's going to be real easy to ignore those things.
Oh, big thing about that, I have a separate old iPhone that I use for the music, because also turn your Bluetooth off on your phone. It's going to help you save your battery life on your watch. You still may need a charger out there. Put those in your drop bags. Make sure that those are like little backup things that I'm like, oh, those are key. Oh, and toilet paper. Listen, practice pooping in the woods. Just do it. Be comfortable with it. Embrace it. Yeah. Be a part of your life, very possibly.
Yeah, I think oh man, it's so much fun, but it does get tough. But then there's going to be so many, amazing volunteers out there, and your crew and the other runners, and then the 100K joins the 100-mile. The 50K runners will start to hit you at the very end when you're most tired. But I think that 4 a.m., 5 a.m. time is kind of that rough spot. So
make sure you have an extra headlamp. I will say this as my first 100-miler was Blackbeard, which is a Trivium point to point. So there are some similarities, I think, to Wolverine, except for Wolverine's trail, right?
Yeah.
However, I remember reaching out to Rich being like, hey, I know I'm signed up to do this, but I knew I wasn't going to have a crew that I was expecting, because a lot of my friends had been to Selma to Montgomery and so to Ocean, whatever. For whatever reason, my crew didn't happen. Yeah. And he said, we have the stations out there. We have the support out there. And they really did. They really did. Don't forget to make friends with the other runners, because I know some of the other runners, support crew, were very helpful to me as well. Just ask people's names. You might not remember them later, but I mean, it's a cool journey, and everybody's out there to see you succeed.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Like, the whole reason we're doing this is to get as many people to have that experience as possible. And it's a bunch of runners putting on a race for runners. Like, Dan's going to be out there working. I'm going to be out there doing all sorts of random stuff. And I think that's basically the whole reason that we do this. We want to give other people the chance to have that good, it's going to be tough, but that experience.
Special experience.
Epic life experiences. Epic.
Yeah. So I guess, top overnight survival tip, like if you had to say, all right, this is the one thing I screwed up, or the one thing I wish I knew, or like the one thing I would tell runners to have in their drop bag going into those overnight hours, what would it be?
I'm so sorry about my lighting.
Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for transitioning there for that, Julie. My
Yeah.
top tip would be comfortable with your headlamp and your lighting, and know what works for you. Know how long your headlamp is going to last. Know when you're going to have to replace your batteries. Personally, I like to do a headlamp and then a waist lamp too, so that I can always see my feet using my waist lamp, and then use my head to kind of direct a beam to whatever I'm looking at. So if you have an experiment, if you're not comfortable with it, get comfortable with lighting. Otherwise, everything is going to feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I love that.
I totally second that for sure. Make sure your headlamp is going to last, and make sure you have a backup, because even a good headlamp that does last in your practice can fall short on race day. So just have, even if it's just some cheap like backup one, have it in your bag just in case.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, and that is part of the required gear as well. You have to have a backup or a backup battery or something like that for your headlamp.
And if you have a big expensive headlamp and you love it, great. But I can tell you there are I know Megan's already laughing at this. I like these headlamps from Amazon. They're $20. It's a pack of 2. You get like 1,000 lumens and it lasts for 4 hours. It's fantastic. Throw them in your bag, throw them in a drop bag, whatever. They're great.
Dan, I use the same ones as my backup ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Julie, number one, like overnight survival, cold weather tip.
Number one, overnight survival. Like, just change your clothes. Don't be afraid to take the time to just strip down and start fresh. Because I think, especially in the middle of the night when you are like ready to just curl up in the fetal position on the side of the road, which I've done. That was the game changer for me, was start fresh. Just start fresh.
Yeah, I like that. I think for me, it would be, I know that I'm not going to stay positive the entire time. I need an external reminder of the things that I would remember if I was feeling fresh and great. So whether it's someone calling me or writing something, writing myself a note that's in my drop bag that's like taped to the outside of it so I can't ignore it.
Yes.
Or, if I've got crew with me, telling them, listen, I am going to get quiet and I need you to tell me to go listen to this podcast or go put on this obnoxious song, whatever that pump up playlist is that feels like it's straight out of high school. That's probably what I need when I'm really tired, but I know that about myself. And I think it's, needing someone to get me back out of my head and into the community, because otherwise I can just go run by myself in the trails at 4 a.m. I'm doing this so I can go be around other ridiculous like-minded individuals.
Yeah. I did put little like motivational quotes on my drop bags. Like, this part's gonna suck, so remember. And I do remember at my first Ironman going to a meeting, and they said it's not about if you're gonna hit the wall, it's about when you're gonna hit the wall. And what are you gonna do about it when you get there? So think about that. Okay, it's gonna get tough, like you said, Megan. Yeah. And how are you gonna handle it when you get there?
Yeah. That and layers. Lots of layers, ventilation, jackets that zip and unzip and have little vents under the armpits.
Yes. Dry bras.
Right, dry bras, crucial. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
This is fun. This is great.